I could have been really easy like Vinny, and I could have just stuck an LS and an E36.
Some guys here, we're gonna fit some Porsche ITBs to this.
Who did this?
I think like that's how they do it on TikTok, right? Like, yeah, no, it still looks like moment of truth. Right out. I never thought we'd have a semi truck. We've had some big trailers, but you're probably wondering right now, does it run? No idea. Anyway, so today we're gonna continue on the Corolla and we're gonna dig into fitting a bunch of pieces before we pull the engine out. At this point, I need to get the engine out. I need to get the head built at Tectonics, and then my friends at Integrated Engineering are gonna help me build the whole thing once that's done. So my buddy Patrick from Orla is gonna come over to help me figure out some induction pieces, and we're gonna end up measuring everything out before we take this whole thing apart. Isn't that right? Yep. Good sir.
We're gonna measure it all out, and then we're gonna take it apart, and then we're gonna measure it out before we put it back together, and then we'll take it all back apart again.
And then put it back together again.
And then put it back together.
Just to take it out again.
Yeah, and then we'll take the car out, and then when we bring it back, we'll probably take it all back apart again.
That is accurate.
See, I could have been really easy like Vinny, and I could have just stuck an LS and an E36.
More people have running LS E36s than they have M50 E36s today.
Think so?
I would argue that. I would argue that.
That's a tough one. But nobody has a running VR6 AE86, so.
Including you.
The good thing is if I don't succeed, no one else did, right?
That's a good point.
You can't lose a race no one's winning.
You can't compare yourself to nobody.
The last time we basically got this thing situated, started building mounts. We're gonna work on the trans mount first today, and then we are gonna work on our intake. Cause you know I wasn't just gonna do a stock ass intake. Of course we're gonna complicate this. Come on.
I show up today, they're like, some guys here, we're gonna fit some Porsche ITBs to this, and then we're gonna model some crazy thing into it. I was like, oh my God, here we go.
Ain't that right? Look at Jolly Boy back there. All right, so just after I showed this project, I got a text from my friend Patrick at Borla, and he said, what are you doing for induction on that thing? Obviously, the answer wasn't gonna be a stock manifold. I knew quite well that you guys not just do exhaust, but also do induction systems. I figured, you know what? I'm gonna go NA, so without turbo, you gotta at least have the best noises and as good airflow as possible. So these. But no one really makes a manifold that's gonna work for what we wanna do here. So today we're gonna figure out how to build a custom manifold that's gonna work around this engine bay. So what are your thoughts so far?
One thing that's great about fabrication is that we're basically just taking fuel and forcing it into that. It doesn't really care what it is, what engine it is. All we need to do is facilitate getting that on there and pushing that stuff in there, and that's all technical jargon really. But in this case, an engine that is in the car that doesn't belong in, and what's the problem?
Yeah, nothing. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Because you guys, your biggest kit is like V8 kits.
Yeah, V8 kits, small block Chevy, LS1. We cater a lot to a restoration crowd or people that are building some sort of an upgrade from small block Chevy maybe to an LS, you know, all that stuff. But what people don't understand is that we really kind of started by absorbing a company that was well known about doing ITB setups for a lot of British cars, Japanese, and so now
and German cars, because they were well known for 16 valves and Porsches.
Yeah, that's a real reliable option. Mm-hmm. It works really well because now with all the ECUs that are out there, the tunability isn't a foreign thing like it used to be.
And so for the people at home who maybe don't know what ITBs are, and basically kind of like where the technology comes from.
Yeah, basically at that time they were carburation, hard to tune. Once they were in, they were really great, but they never really worked right. So these are nice because two throttle bodies, they're going to be feeding gas into, you know, part of the cylinder head, you know, fuel injector, which is going to be sitting here in this space, a common fuel rail. I mean, all of it makes it really easy to put in, and you're consistently getting fuel because instead of a float bowl or any of that technology that this one's allowing, it's straight injectors pumping fuel directly into the cylinder, and it works really super well.
It's crazy because when I was a kid, when everybody else wanted a turbo, I wanted ITBs. I heard a hill climb car on ITBs and it just screamed. But nowadays, like you said, management's become so much more simple and tuning is so much easier that it's no longer like for race cars only. So what is the actual unit we have here?
Well, these are DCOE clones, I would call them, but they are a body match to a DCOE Weber carburetor.
All right, so let's talk about that because, as I said before, no one makes a manifold for this particular application. You know, there are people who've ran 24 valves on ITBs before. They're all intended for front-wheel drive vehicles that are literally sticking the ITBs up right here up against the rad. They usually tilt them up, kind of run them upward this way. What we have to first think about is that we spent a lot of work trying to get this thing to sit as far back as possible. Means that we may be hitting our brake booster, but luckily we've already ordered some parts from Willwood for that. So here's our new booster, and we've got a new master, which is right over here. We're gonna start by getting this installed, or at least mocked up, so that we know how much room we're really working with. And then from there, we're gonna sort of build a mock-up plate to hold this in place, so then we can ship all of this to BBI, have them 3D scan it, and machine us a very beautiful manifold to hold this all together.
It's like 105 degrees over here.
You know, I would do it, but I'm just too big. It's worth being short, bro. Sometimes it just really pays off. This is where it really makes up. What are you pondering right now?
Not pondering anything. I'm just admiring the fact that as you're building this thing, you're building it to be worked on.
Everything needs serviceability.
Yeah, I know. But Vin would probably make fun of you for it. Zach would definitely make fun of you for it.
This dude right here is here for it.
Yeah.
I love this.
Dude, I respect it because there's a lot of reasons why you would want to just shift your motor front and back.
First off, power steering racks tend to always break when you don't want them to, especially on Gymkhana or drift cars. And this is the cavern the power steering rack sits in. And ideally, I kind of want to move the engine forward around a ½ inch for some fit up top. But if I do that, I can't get the rack in and out. So we slotted these. All right, you can see there's the slot in these, so that these will move back and forth, which means that I can actually loosen the motor mounts and slide it forward. And now Angela's working on these pieces in the back. So
Basically, we got a little chipboard template. It's got a little earpiece, and then I kind of like accounted for my slot right here. The whole transmission will be able to go forward and back 9 or so inches, 8 or so inches. Because
that's absolutely overkill. We only need to go about 1 inch or so, but you know, you ask him for 1 inch and he gives you 9. That's the kind of dude he is.
the kind of dude I am.
So sus.
Well, even as we continue to figure this out and figure out how the throttle bodies fit and all of that, it's gonna be nice to be able to just have a little bit of play in being able to move this back and forth. Once we get it really sorted, maybe we'll rebuild the mounts then so that there's less of room for something to loosen and shake out, but right now, looks pretty good. What you got right here? You on point?
Got a little level. We're a little on
You're,
point. We're within.
Man, look at us using measuring tools to install engines. All right, so what do you got now? So you took your templates.
Took the template, traced it out on the digitizer, and then it cuts it out for us right here.
Oh yeah.
Easy. And then you just clean it up a little bit. It leaves like pretty much nothing, and then bolt it right up. Just goes.
By the way, huge thanks to Angelo, because I've been in and out of meetings and traveling the past week or so. Dude has just jumped on, helped me with all the fab stuff. This is where everyone comments below. Angelo's building the whole car. So that's how that happens. But you designed this idea, so this is you're gonna...
This will bend up and then bend back down just to like make sure we're squared out on our piece. I'll mark it out and then drill my holes.
All right, so let's throw these in now and then kind of visualize what that's gonna look like.
Sweet. What was that?
You got a lot of thread in there.
A lot of thread. We were just talking about we need shorter bolts. We're gonna be here for a while. How's your day?
Dude, you need to use
Not bad. Look at that feature.
There's air tools in this.
Look at that feature for dropping. Look at that. No one. That's a feature no one knew they needed.
No, you don't need this.
You released that, and now you can just drop that down if you need to.
They're all gonna want it now.
Everybody wants that now.
What happened?
Who did this? I'll get you a box.
Look at all these boys just out here, just watching, sipping on boba.
Just chilling. Just
That
spectating.
looks pretty good. Ooh, look at you.
Adjustability All the things.
I like it. I like it.
14 upstairs.
Sometimes when I weld, I get these erratic welds and it's never consistent. So what do you think could cause that?
For troubleshooting welding machines, the first thing I like to do is remember that the machine is an electromechanical device. So a lot of things have to be in alignment for it to work right.
Yeah.
You have to have the proper consumables in it, which means the drive rolls, the contact tips, the liner in the gun, all that has to be sized for the wire that you're using. Make sure that the wire is a good quality. Sometimes the wire is a poor quality and even the base metal that is used will cause erratic welds, or the wire spool is wound wrong. If it's only wound a portion of the way and then wound on top of it, the wire is pulling through from the bottom or underside, and it's called underspooling. And that causes so much tension on the drive motor that the drive motor starts to slip. And that'll give you some bad, inconsistent welds and even burn backs to the tip.
To figure this out, we have made this plate. So the concept is we're going to mount these in like this, right? It's gonna put them all in place. And then once we know where it's supposed to sit, we'll mark this to match on the head. And then from there, we can build the manifold to meet that. I don't think we need to position them forward anymore. It's not bigger than the booster. It doesn't come out farther than this. Have this one shift this way.
Like this way.
Yeah.
ERB.
Why is this so complicated?
All right, so that wasn't working. So we went back to the drawing board, did a bunch of math, and when I say math, he did it. He drew it on a napkin, and yeah, we went from there, and we came back with a different throttle body because the other one wasn't fitting. So we now have this, which is what?
A DCNF, generally downdraft, Ferrari, Maserati. Back in the old days, that's what we would run. But what's nice about this situation is that we can use it as a side draft because it doesn't have any float bowls or anything in it. So we can run what we wanted to run before, which is the 3 across the side. So they all work really well.
So here it is, like you said, right, originally ran like this when it actually had like a float, but you know, now it's got fuel injection, so we can run it however we want it. So look at how much smaller that is. Oh yeah, I think that's gonna work. So we're gonna try to build the same little kind of mock-up manifold. Jared, you've already mocked up basically a version of what we did for the DCOEs, and now we're just gonna repeat that, so. Obviously this one just isn't built, this one's just not a complete unit, but imagine 3 of those. So we're gonna put this together, put it in there, see how much space we got.
If you just trim this back part right here, just trim off this lip, you're not gonna lose any of the velocity, and you're just gonna have this missing.
Yep. All right, so there it is. As you can see, we don't actually have the trumpets on this one here. So without the air horn there, you'll notice it will hit here a little bit, but we can probably just trim this a little bit. Or we might be able to make the manifold runner a little shorter because this is such a straight line getting in here that I'm not too concerned. But if we made it billet, we'd be able to kind of carve like a nice little runway there in the plenum, right? Jared's just like, whatever you say, man, I don't know. All right, so the next step now is we're gonna cut some flanges, 1 for the head side and 2, the throttle body side, and then we'll cut some pipes and we'll make this all a thing, and boom, it'll be a thing. Like that's how they do it on TikTok, right? Like, and then, yeah, no, it still looks like shit. We'll make it work. It'll be great this time. All right, so we're sitting here just debating on just different ways to run the linkage system with modern throttle bodies. That's now become the biggest problem. As you can see how this works, right? So like, all right, that opens our butterfly. We got another one here, right? And obviously another one will be over here. You run a bar here that then like rotates and all of that. And I would keep explaining it, but then I realized that he has one in his truck.
We can go
so let's go look at it.
Let's go check it out.
Yeah, it's a laser. You gotta do this one over here. All right, tell the people what this is before we just dig into taking parts off of it for my car.
It's a 1972 Datsun 521.
Can you tell us a little about those wheels?
Work Wilcox 15 by 12.
What is the offset?
-51.
Sick. Oh yeah, see? This linkage mounts to the red line manifold. So we will need to build out provisions for the linkage to sit in the manifold.
Just do Heims. You can weld in some sockets or bungs on the manifold that we'll make. And then we'll run a rod. And then I think the bell crank will probably be opposite way because we want to pull from the bottom. But it just depends on how it's going to work out with the linkage.
Because this would need to pull the other direction, so we could probably put
You just
the
flip it
hang
around.
on. We put the hang on this side so that the throttle cable would pull that down to lift it up.
And then a bracket to hold the cable. So pretty straightforward.
All right, this makes sense. This is really easy. Oh, we got this. So we'll just need to build some sort of mounting bracket for that, but we could do that later. We can make it and then figure out where that needs to be. All right. Today is the day to now pull out all the mock-up stuff and start making this real. This is actually just what the factory exhaust manifold looks like on the VR6. We're gonna probably do some cool headers here, maybe even some high-rise units. So the mounts are in, kind of figured out spacing on the throttle body side, and Borla's working on kind of refining this setup for us while we go into making a custom intake manifold over there. Now that everything's in there, time to take it all out. And thankfully, I built this. Let's see how well that works for removing all of this. Cue it up, the moment of truth for everyone who made fun of me here for adding this easy removal piece. Take it out, let's see how quick this goes. It's the moment of truth. Up, lift it up. All right, so now that's successfully gone, I wanna give my list of yous. You Jolly, you Ron, you Vinny. Who else said that was stupid? Everyone. You everyone. Look at that, right out. All it was just a simple removal. The handy dandy Scotto removable radiator clip mod.
That's catchy.
What we need to do is separate the head from the block because the head is going to Tectonics Tuning, which is a famous like 40, 50-year-old Volkswagen tuning company from 1.6 liters, 1.5 liters, all the way to these 24 valve VR6s. So the head's gonna go to them. Bottom end is gonna head over to Integrated Engineering. They're gonna do some machine work on that and put in some other pistons. Like I said, this is gonna stay NA, but might put a little bit of squirt on it.
We're in for a treat.
A little nitrous, so figured we'd build out the bottom end as well. I will head up to Utah where Integrated is. Tectonics will ship the head there. We'll put the whole thing back together. It'll make its way back into the car. We're just right now finding TDC real quick. So if you're gonna take an engine apart, it's always best to kind of leave it at TDC. Top dead center. It's always fun to look at things like spark plugs on a motor that you bought from someone out of like their backyard a day before they were going to jail. True story. I won't get into the rest of it.
Gotta worry about this fool over here trying to shank you.
The big question will be is when we pop the head if there's any scoring or anything else. The good thing is I actually think that this engine belonged to a buddy of mine named Stav, who runs Stav Built, and I think he sold it to this guy, and then this guy basically liquidated everything he had before going to the clink. So nothing's normal for me. I don't ever just go and buy something without a story. There's always a story. All right, so we've got the head off, and the good news is this actually doesn't look too bad. It's got a little bit of storage, decay that kind of just happens from, but it's not actually rusted, it's just kind of grimy. There's definitely a lot of material in there, but it hasn't seemed to scratch anything. Yeah, look at that. A good block from a convict.
Excuse me? Storage.
Yeah, it's just grime. Yeah, but it's not, it's actually grime from storage, not, you can tell it's not actually worked into the walls.
Oh, nice.
It also feels like it might be like copper spray.
Good job, Mr. Scotto. Good job, all.
You got your car done. We're still trying to get our cars done. You realize Ron is so far ahead of me, and he probably still will barely have his car running right. I will be like, I'll still have fuel leaks when grid starts. Like, I'll still be in a situation where like, I'm not even tuned properly. I'm just still leaking fuel everywhere.
Today is the day. We are finally getting this car done. Well, that was about the fastest mod ever. Coming to a racetrack everywhere now. The car is fully painted. Oh my God, it looks so sick.